So I've had this hunch for a while that atheism and leftism, the political left, have so many similarities in that atheism feeds leftism. Um, and so I'm going to make videos probably like this quite a bit. I've got an atheist page, an anti-atheist page. Not that I'm against atheist. I'm for atheist. I'm against atheism. And I've got that page is called Atheism versus Logic. And then I've got a political page called The Left versus Wisdom. Because I see the flaw of atheists and atheism is that it lacks logic. They believe molecular machines could build themselves, life can create itself. With the left, it's that they lack wisdom. The political left is empathetic, and so is the right. People, Republicans, Democrats, they are empathetic. But the left lacks wisdom. And so something that I just thought of the other day is that I think atheism or atheists are for equality spiritually, like the left is for communism economically. And so what I mean by that is that the left, and with this communistic mindset, the mindset is we need to be equal, and they think that communism will lift everybody up. That of course there's rich and they will be a little less rich, but the poor will become more middle class. And so that's the goal of communism is economic equality. But what we find out in practicality when we work this out is that both the poor and the rich become even more poor in communism, right? Look at history, look at Venezuela. Capitalism does the opposite. It understands that there has to be inequality because people work differently. People know different things. People develop different skills. People have different giftedness. And so what capitalism does is it says, okay, there's inequality, but in capitalism, they serve each other and it lifts everybody up. And so capitalistic societies, the poor and the rich, sure, they can become even more widespread, the gap, but the poor is lifted up. So capitalism, even though it's not for equality, it's for equality of opportunity, but not equality of outcome. It lifts the poor. Communism is for equality of outcome, and it actually hurts the poor, and of course hurts the rich. The only ones it doesn't hurt are the politicians who convince people to vote for them, and the politicians can live off the wealth of this horrible idea. So my hunch is that atheism is very similar. That atheism spiritually wants equality instead of inequality. And so it says that, there are no gods, that you can do whatever you want. Whereas, let's say, I'm a Christian, and of course I think every religion that is not Christianity is wrong and hurtful. And so I'm not saying atheism is worse than every religion. Atheism is worse than Christianity. But false forms of Christianity, I believe, are worse than atheism. So I'd almost rather people just remain atheist or fully commit to Jesus Christ. But again, I want people to be logical. I want people to follow the evidence, and the evidence points to a creator. So if you do, I want you to be a theist, but don't hold to some weird, odd religion like Islam or false forms of Christianity like cults where they think they have to earn their own salvation. So what I think happens with atheists is they look at, let's say, people who are, involved in homosexuality, and they see them and they're like, it is wrong that they are looked down upon spiritually by Christians, right? So what the atheist, I think, is going on in their mind is this: they want spiritual equality, that, well, there is no God, so homosexuality is not a sin, and any other sin, watching porn or doing drugs, or doing things that the church typically condemns, the real church. So in their view, in their hope for equality, I think it does the same thing that communism does. It doesn't help people that are, I believe, spiritually poor. It makes them go even lower. And so again, with the atheist view to lift people up by saying there is no God, I think they just bring people down with more spiritual poverty. Whereas, if you realize that, there is inequality spiritually, that some people accept Jesus, some people don't. Some people live for Jesus fully, and they'll get more rewards in heaven. These rewards are people, that they've led more people to Jesus. Whereas some Christians, they haven't, They accept Jesus as their Savior, but they don't really fully live for Jesus. They're not leading that many people to Jesus. They're not helping many people renew their minds and experience the peace and joy in Jesus. So if you look at it that way, it's better. It's almost like spiritual capitalism, where people realize that hey, we can work for a reward. We can make decisions. We can make good decisions and help more people, and it's not equality of outcome. So here's what I want to ask atheists: are you rejecting Jesus? Are you rejecting religion because you hate spiritual inequality? Because I kind of get that sense that you hate that one group is told you're not doing things right, like homosexuality, So are you rejecting Jesus because you don't like groups of people being told they're spiritually poor? And if that's the case, I want you to know you're hurting yourself. It doesn't help you to lower yourself. Just like in communism, it doesn't help the poor to reject capitalism and then everybody's poor. Well, it doesn't help people who are spiritually poor for you to reject Jesus, and now you're spiritually, or you remain spiritually poor. You're just driving it down. You're driving people away from Jesus. You're driving people away from the answer. And just like communism produces economic poverty, so atheism produces spiritual poverty. Now, I do appreciate atheists criticizing all the false religions and false forms of Christianity. Christianity can handle your concerns and your criticisms, because the truth can handle it. We're so secure. Those of us who are true Christians and followers of Jesus, we've read the Bible, we love the Bible, we love science. We can handle all your criticisms because it all flows together and it works together. But so I want you to worry, think about that. Are you rejecting Jesus because you don't like spiritual poverty? You can't imagine people going to hell. Well, man, if a branch decides it doesn't want to be grafted into a tree and it rejects its source of life, well, that branch is good for nothing except to be thrown in a fire. And so it is with people. So don't you go to hell because you can't stand spiritual inequality. Accept Jesus and become spiritually rich, and that will help you bring other people out of spiritual poverty. Just like capitalism, by accepting capitalism and pursuing what it means to create wealth, which is to solve problems for other people, you're putting yourself in a position where you can help people out of poverty. So it is with Jesus. I know you hate the idea of hell, and that's a good thing. I don't want anyone to go to hell. Jesus doesn't want anyone to go to hell. That's why he came and died for them, right? He hated spiritual inequality. He wanted to die so that everyone could go to heaven. But of course, that's not going to happen because people make bad decisions. Just like in capitalism, people are poor because they make bad decisions. They need an education. They need to learn new skills, not a college education. They just need to learn skills and have a good attitude and serve the people around them and not have kids until they're married and they're going to be wealthy, right? And people who realize that God exists and they accept Jesus as their Savior, well, they'll be taken out of spiritual poverty and they won't go to hell, right? So here's my thing. Do not reject Jesus because you can't stand the idea of people going to hell. Accept Jesus and help people not go there. Don't use the desire for unwise equality to keep you from Jesus. That doesn't help anyone. Just like communism, this unwise desire for economic equality that ignores human nature, that people make bad decisions. People need to suffer for bad decisions, right? So don't make that mistake and choose unwise equality. Choose to make a good decision and help bring people up instead of just putting yourself down because you want equality.